Hey everyone, welcome. I am Val Myers Bitts and I am with the Kids Therapy Center. Something that we do here that we really love is our holistic services. Probably one of my favorite products is actually our genetic test that we do with Dwight Franklin from Orlando. And so today I wanted to introduce you to him and talk about our mind map genetic test that we do here at Kids Therapy Center. Why? Because it really helps us get to the root cause. This test and the way Dwight analyzes it is like no other and has we have helped so many. So welcome. Dwight, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me, Val. My name is Dwight Franklin. I'm the owner of the Franklin Family Wellness Institute here in Orlando. And so I'm a functional medicine practitioner and Eastern medicine physician. And a few years back, I started really introducing this genetic testing to my patients. And then me and you, Val, have been working together on this for some time now. And it's really been wonderful at giving so much insight into these patients and clients' lives. Would you like me to go into detail on the actual genetic testing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the test.
Yeah, so I know that me and you talked about this earlier, that some people believe they've had certain types of genetic tests in the past so they don't really need to go in that direction. I know I've had people tell me that too. There are many different types of genetic testing out there. There are types of genetic tests that will look at what medications may be a best fit for you. Those are very useful. There are genetic tests out there that will say, oh, you're 20% higher risk for cardiovascular issues, or those are
Mhm.
all very helpful in their own ways. But this is what we call a functional genetic test, where it actually shows you, with some guidance, it will show you how your body and brain work on its most basic genetic level. So you may be if you have it, let's just say you have a child that maybe has low focus. We can see through certain genetics, certain gene variations, that child may be breaking down their dopamine way too quickly. And that can lead to low levels of dopamine, which will lead to low focus because that's what that neurotransmitter dopamine does for us. It helps us to focus, it helps us to have impulse control, right? You may be the kind of person that is just really having a low mood. And especially during these times of the year where it's really hard on everybody, but for you it may be especially hard. We may be doing a genetic test for you and find out that you don't have any trouble making serotonin because your genes there are just what they need to be, but maybe you are breaking it down too quickly. You may not be receiving it into the neurons as well as what you should be able to because of genetics. And there are solutions for all of these types of situations. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, sorry about your luck. You're more prone to low mood, or you're more prone to depression, or more prone to low focus or inattention. There are absolutely things we can do about this. All of these genes and their respective gene enzymes that do these jobs and functions in our body require cofactors. These cofactors are vitamins, minerals, and many other different chemicals that your body makes. How well your body makes them greatly depends on genetics, right? So, if we can find out what types of gene variations that you have that may be inhibiting your brain or your body doing its jobs the best it possibly can, we can add more of those cofactors in. We can add more magnesium for some people who are having what we call a slow COMT, and that's leading them to more anger issues and frustration issues. Okay, we can add in more curcumin to a person's body who has what we would call a fast MAOA that is leading to low levels of serotonin. Many of you may have heard of curcumin being very helpful for low mood. This is why we actually can really pinpoint the why. Why is this happening to a person? I know, Val, me and you both have done many different lab tests over the years for our clients and patients. And some of them are really great at going, oh, yep, you do have low serotonin. Yep, you have low dopamine. But the genetic test is beautiful at understanding the why behind that. right?
Yeah. And that's what I love about it. When I have somebody come to me, I love the neurotransmitter test because it tells us the here and now. But
Yeah,
then I'm like, if I don't have a genetic test, then I'm like, well, what am I going to be looking at to help change those neurotransmitters, right? Yes,
yeah,
we have some idea, but the gene snip really tells us so much of how the functioning of our body and whatnot. And I always say to people that when I see patients and we see about 600 patients a week at Kids Therapy Center in North Dakota, and we see some of the worst, right? And I have hope for everybody comes through the door because we know now so much of how to make these genes fluctuate or behave, right? Um, yeah, some are easier than others, but the reality is we have so much hope. And I always think the gene snip gives us so many pieces to the puzzle. And each test that we do and things that we start to do is playing with that puzzle and making it fit together, right?
yeah,
But the gene snip again is probably my favorite just because of all the information we get from it. Um, and we used to think that, oh, my dad has this or grandma has this and my mom has this and I have it, whatever, I'm shit out of luck, right? Well, we know that that's not true anymore. We know that we can change so much already uh, from just our lifestyle, which is what we focus on with the gene snip. Because
yeah.
that's the other question I got is like, can you take my gene site test and do the same thing? Well, there's a couple of genes on there, but it doesn't tell us the same amount of information, right? And the other piece is that when you've had a gene snip done, even like a functional one like we do, it's all about the person who analyzes it. Dwight, I think you do an amazing job with and Kim, with our patients of walking through what they need to do and really understanding their body and which vitamins and minerals and lifestyle, diet, exercises can really help their mental health or their mental wellness. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's awesome.
a couple of things I'll say is that, and you alluded to this, and I think I alluded to this even earlier. Um, yeah, we can't change the gene itself. That's kind of set in stone, right? But genes make gene enzymes or gene receptors. And those, once again, those enzymes and receptors need these cofactors to do their job as well as they possibly can. I always tell my patients that it's very much like if you got a piece of machinery that maybe isn't built the best, but if you give it the oil it needs, if you give it the maintenance it needs, it will function to the best of its ability, right? And
Yeah.
to what you just said, that was great. What we know about this gene test and what we know about genetics in general is these genes, they are in communication with each other.
Mhm.
There are genetics that will predispose you to large levels of inflammation if you have these certain unfortunate genetic variations. That inflammation can absolutely play a role in your brain health. Neuroinflammation can just absolutely wreak havoc on your neurotransmitter health. So we want to understand how the whole body works. It's not just about those neurotransmitters. I know I hit on those the most because that's what people think of with brain health, but I'm also looking at how your immune system functions.
Mhm.
Genetically, that is. I want to know how your body detoxifies. Yeah, I hear this all the time in my practice, Val. A mom will come in, she's kind of at her wits' end, and she's so tired because she's got to watch so much of what that child does and puts into their body, where little Johnny down the street eats all kinds of garbage and he's doing okay while her child's suffering. And I understand that it can be very hard on a parent. But what I'll say is a lot of that is due to genetics and how that child is processing these toxins in their environment. Little Johnny down the street may just simply have some genetics that are able to process that a little better, a little faster, where your son may not be able to as much. But that it's not the end of the world. It may just lead that maybe we give a glutathione supplement because of that. Maybe we give some extra B vitamins because of that. We can find some solutions to help that child get as close to optimal as we can possibly get them so that they're they're not suffering any much more than any other child is, right? While of course we want to look at the lifestyle, we can fit in supplements to help, bridge the gaps, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the pieces that I love about this is that we can lay out some lifestyle things, some supplement things. It's not kind of an all or another. We obviously we'd love it to be lifestyle, but we know that we can't absorb all the things that we get, or it's hard to get the quality of food that we need or whatnot. And so that's the other thing that when people come to us is that we really do have the good, better, best mindset of trying to give them choices and what will work for their body best and the steps that they can take. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's fun. All
Yeah.
right. Anything else that you want to add while we're on today?
I think that's it. Other than to say that I think right now the Kids Therapy Center is giving a 10% off of this genetic test. So if you guys are interested in looking at your genetics, looking at your child's genetics, or any other family members and friends, by all means get with the Kids Therapy Center and they will make sure that you get that 10%
Awesome.
discount.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So I will put the sale and everything within the comments of the post, and we will start. The sale is from now, November 28th through December 5th, and get you on your way for a healthy new year. Thank you.